Welcome back to Let's Design Factorio. Today I'd like to give you a tour of some of the important Gleba blueprints that I've been using in the game. Because I haven't done that really in the design series, and I thought, you probably should know how this works. So in the Gleba blueprint book, we have a blueprint book here called Biochambers. And I've really refined this over quite a few iterations, and I want to show you how that works. So when you're first dropping onto Gleba, you have no biochambers, and you have to get biochambers, and it's really difficult to get them because the resources that you have to get in certain combinations, especially with the volatile egg, can be kind of challenging. So I've really streamlined it here, and what it is it's 3 blueprints, and you use the first biochamber blueprint to make your first biochamber, and you use the second blueprint to make your second biochamber, and then after that, you can replace it with the final one that you can keep permanently. So let's go through these one by one, and I'll show you how they work. The first biochamber, we're going to put that down. It's really, really simple. It's got a couple of assemblers in it, and the requester chests are for your raw materials. Now, there's an instructions panel here. It says, prepare all non-perishable ingredients ahead of time. Use solars to power. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's get the solar. We'll uncheck electrified floor. So everything's out of power. And then we're going to give it some solars. There we go. Now, you might want to put a RoboPort down. That keeps these chests happy. They know that they're in the network. So what's going on here? We've got a situation where you want spoilage here, and it makes nutrients. And you want iron plates, electric circuits, nutrients, pentapod egg, and landfill. Now, you should have brought a couple thousand stone with you on your first trip to Gleba, so you can use that to make about 50 landfill. And I would recommend doing that for sure, because you don't want to be mining stone on Gleba with no power. So let's see what happens here. We've got a decider combinator that has a checklist of things that it wants before it will begin. What does it want? It wants 50 spoilage, which is really easy to get. It wants a pentapod egg. It wants a single landfill, 20 iron plates, and 5 green chips. Super easy to get. I've got a requester chest here that specifically wants those things. So you just give it what it asks for, and everything will be just fine. So let's give it that landfill. And you'll notice that when I have landfill here, if we go back to the decider combinator, this is now green. So this is checking what's in the chest, and it will begin operating as soon as it has everything it needs. So let's put some iron plates in. Put 20 of those in. We'll put 5 green chips in. And you can see that it's pretty close. It's pretty close. We just need 50 spoilage, which we can get super easy just by, picking up some plants. We'll put 50 in there. And now everything except the egg is ready to go. And honestly, you can build this entire thing with stuff you bring from off-world. So you don't have to worry about, using Gleba-only products to build this little build. This is to get your very first biochamber. In fact, let's look at the blueprint real quick. I have some notes in there. So build this one first to make your first biochamber. So it's pretty straightforward. Now, what's the instructions say? The instructions say prepare all non-perishable ingredients ahead of time. Use solars to power. Place 50 spoilage in the chest on the left. The left. I rotated this, didn't I? Don't worry about that. 50 spoilage obviously goes in there. Acquire and insert the egg last. After construction, take the entire build down and replace with biochamber blueprint number 2. All right, that's it. So we're going to give it an egg. So we're going to pretend. Let's just put those eggs in here so they don't hatch in my inventory. So we're going to pretend that you went off into the wild and you picked up an egg raft, and now you have a single pentapod egg. So you're going to put that in the chest. And just like that, the green light turns on and it does its thing. It makes nutrients. And it used up all 50 of your spoilage to do that, so there's none left over. There's no ingredients left over. Everything is completely done. There's nothing at all left over. So, in fact, ooh, I found a little bug. No, this doesn't have to be in there. You don't have to have that. I will fix that in the blueprint. All right, I've made the necessary change in the blueprint. So if we go to Gleba Startup Biochambers, first biochamber, I've also rotated it back where it makes more sense. And here you go. So we no longer have that inserter in that chest. And that's as simple as it is. That's very, very basic. And once you've done this, once you've run it, you will have a single biochamber. So you take the biochamber and you put it in your inventory, and then you take the whole thing down and you put up the second blueprint. The second blueprint says, build this one next to make your second biochamber. Now, the reason that you don't want to use the first biochamber blueprint again to make your second biochamber is because you would need another egg. See, we want to reduce the amount of egg harvesting that you have to go out and do. So obviously, when you first land on Gleba, it's pretty alien and a little bit terrifying, and you never know what you're going to run into. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find a way to do this so that you only need one more egg. So we go back into the blueprint book and we pick second biochamber. We put that down. Requirements are a little bit different this time because we're going to duplicate the egg. You're going to want to find a water source. So set up an offshore pump and get your water somehow right here. And then we have ingredients. The instructions say, place 400 spoilage in the chest on the left. Place all requested ingredients in the chest on the right. Acquire and insert an egg into the middle biochamber. Put the egg in last to give you time to prepare everything else. After construction, a new egg will be in the middle biochamber. Take the entire build down and replace with biochamber blueprint number 3. All right, so with those instructions in mind, we're just going to take a peek here at the checklist again. You can see everything that the combinator wants. Spoilage. So we want 400 spoilage. Don't worry if you put a little extra in, it's normal. So we've got at least 400. So we want, again, 1 landfill, 20 iron plates. Don't worry if you have more than that. 5 green chips. Now, the reason we want more spoilage this time is because we're going to be making more nutrients. Nutrients are used to duplicate your egg. So according to this, absolutely everything is ready to go except for the egg. So we're going to go and acquire 1 more egg and then run it. All right, so we have gone off into the wilderness and we have acquired a pentapod egg. So the instructions say to place the pentapod egg into the middle biochamber. And the green light comes on and everything begins. It's going to create enough nutrients to run this recipe and gives us 2 pentapod eggs. And meanwhile, all the ingredients have been dumped from this chest into this assembler, and it's just waiting for that egg. And then we'll make the second biochamber. There it goes. All right, one of the eggs has gone down here, and it's making this biochamber. The other egg went back into the biochamber here and is ready for you to take it out and use it in the future. We now have our second biochamber that we have manufactured, and that's ready to use in the next build. So what we're going to do is we're going to take down this entire thing. And when you take it down, you will have in your inventory a remaining pentapod egg. Now you're going to want to get this next build up quickly because you have 15 minutes before that thing hatches. So let's look at the blueprints one more time. Under Biochambers, we have a blueprint called Biochamber Loop. The notes say, keep this build set up permanently. Put the egg in stasis when not running. I'll show you what that means in a bit. So we're going to put the Biochamber Loop up. It looks very similar to the last one, except we now have a biochamber on the right as well as in the middle. We are no longer using assemblers to construct our biochambers. We are using biochambers to construct biochambers, and the reason you needed two before we put this down is because there's two biochambers in the build. So the instructions are a bit more complex. Let's have a look. Place 3,400 spoilage in the chest on the left. Place all requested ingredients in the chest on the right. Place your egg into the middle biochamber. When everything is ready, the light will come on and the loop will begin hands-free. Light will go off when spoilage is used up. Should make 18 biochambers. Remove biochambers before running again. Place your egg in stasis when not running. I'll show you everything that means. So over here, it wants landfill. Now you should be able to give it 12 landfill if you brought your stone with you to Gleba. We're going to throw that in. So there's 12. And there's 250 iron plates, so that's sufficient. And here is 60 green chips. Make sure your water is being supplied from your offshore pump. That's very important. And over here, if we check this combinator, we can see that the only thing left is the 3,400 spoilage. Now you're going to have to run around a little bit in your local area on Gleba to collect a whole bunch of those plants. And there's a lot of plants that will give you some spoilage. Just use your bots and it'll be in your inventory in no time. So let's put 3,400 spoilage into this chest. Now that should be 3,000. It is. So 3,400 is this much. So let's assume that you've collected that and you've stuck it in this chest. You go back to your decider combinator and you can see that literally all the lights are green on this branch except for the pentapod egg. So remember, you have a pentapod egg in your inventory from the last run when you crafted that biochamber just a moment ago. So you want to put that egg into the middle biochamber and the entire process will start up. Light will turn green. It'll start taking nutrients from this assembler and putting into this biochamber. This inserter up here is going to monitor the amount of nutrients we have in this biochamber, and if it falls under 5, it's going to activate and we're going to move some nutrients down this belt into this biochamber here. Now we're making an egg, and the egg is going down here and it's getting picked up by this biochamber and crafted into more biochambers. It has a productivity bonus of 50% in the biochamber, which is why we're using that instead of assemblers. So you can see that we continue to make eggs, we continue to make biochambers until everything is used up. Here's the ingredients remaining in this chest. And watch very carefully what's going on in this belt. You can see that we're putting the egg down. So this will make 2 or 3 eggs. And it'll put the egg down. And then this, when there's no egg in the biochamber, this section of belt will actually stop. And it'll prevent the egg from escaping down here. And that ensures that we pick it up and put 1 egg back into this biochamber. And then after that's done, this resumes and the remaining eggs go down here. So this is going to make 3. Watch that. 1, 2, 3. Puts 1 back in, the remaining 2 go down here. And this is going to make 2 biochambers. This inserter is putting biochambers into this provider chest, we have 9 already. So we're halfway done. And you want to keep it at multiples of 9 actually, because that's the way this works with the productivity bonus to make sure we're not wasting any. If you're going to take this down, you want to make sure you've used up this bonus. And the same goes true for this one. So we want them both to be at the same time. Meanwhile, the decider combinator, a lot of these lights are going out, which means, we couldn't start fresh right now, but it is a latch. And the reason that the signal stays on is because the signal is on and the spoilage is not empty yet. All right, here's our last craft. We're making 2 biochambers in this last one, and now we are completely done. Let's take stock of the situation. The spoilage in this chest is completely gone. All of the ingredients in here are completely gone. We did have extra plates to begin with, but that was more than we asked for, so all these ingredients are completely gone. We have an egg still, so we're going to take that egg out. Because remember, the instructions say, place your egg in stasis when not running. You don't want to leave your egg in this thing, because it will hatch into a pentapod. Over here, we have 18 biochambers, which is just incredible. If you want to run it again, you can. All you have to do is refill these and then refill this with another 3,400 spoilage, and the entire thing will start up again. You just have to place your egg in the center here, and the whole thing will run. You'll have 36 biochambers. It's a very, very cool build. It's as fully automated as I could make it. And now I'd like to show you what it means to put your egg in stasis. So if you go back to your Gleba blueprints, start up production, egg stasis 2.2. Now this is going to have an alarm right off the bat. The reason is because the programmable speaker says if spoilage is less than 1600, set off the alarm. But this wants 6,000 spoilage, and we're going to give it 1,600 because that will get the alarm to shut up. We'll give it 2,000. There we go. So it's happy. So this is a very, very, very cool build. I'm extremely happy with it. I'm very proud of it. It's called Egg Stasis. And I do have to make a change to it. It's not complete yet. I'm hoping to complete it pretty soon. Like we need a couple of tweaks. It's not too bad. It's almost done. So what's going on? Egg stasis keeps precisely 1 egg available at all times via bots. Requires 400 spoilage every 14 minutes and 30 seconds. Alarm will sound when spoilage goes below 1,600. Make sure biochamber has water. Timer begins when egg is inserted into chamber. Crafting can be manually triggered if you want to start early. Do this for your first one because of its age. That's very important, actually. I'll show you what everything is doing here. So it's pretty cool. We're going to copy this over here. You want to supply water to your biochamber. So there's your water. And the only thing that it needs now is just to drop the egg in. We have a counter over here. We have a lot of circuits, actually. I'm going to see if I can explain what they are. All right, so this inserter here will put spoilage into this assembler to make nutrients that will duplicate your egg. As you've just seen, the eggs can duplicate rather quickly. But in this case, we don't want to duplicate the egg quickly. We want to duplicate the egg as slowly as possible. Because this is egg stasis. This is where you put your egg when you're not using it. Now we have 9 minutes to put the egg in there and for me to finish explaining how this works. So this inserter will operate when A equals 1. A equals 1 is the signal that says it is now time to duplicate that egg as quickly as possible. If A is already equal to 1, and we have an egg in the biochamber, then the signal will stay on. So this will continue to feed spoilage into the nutrient maker as long as there is an egg in this biochamber. As soon as there's no egg in the biochamber, this will go off. Now, S equals 1, this is like a set condition for the SR latch, and I've explained how those work before. So we have a set condition, S equals 1, that gets the whole thing started. And then once it's started, it will keep going as long as there is an egg in the biochamber. What causes S equals 1? So what causes it is one of two different things. We have a counter that counts to 50,000, which is about 14 minutes on the tick cycle. And we want water, and we want an egg. And we want at least 400 spoilage, because we're going to use 400 spoilage in the process of duplicating that egg. So if all three of these conditions are true, we will set. On the other hand, we have another signal called X, and that's made by this constant combinator down here. So it's off by default, but you can turn it on. You can make X equals 1 by flipping this on. We're not going to do it yet. If that switch is on, and we have water, and we have an egg, and we have 400 spoilage, we will set. We will initiate the egg duplication process. So the only difference between this branch and this branch is that over here it needs to be X equals 1, and over here it needs to be C is greater than 50,000, which is to say 14 minutes have passed. Roughly 14 minutes. So I'm going to put the egg that we have left over into the biochamber, and you can see that by doing that, it has started the clock. This combinator will count up to 50,000. Actually, it doesn't have any reset conditions. The only condition that it has to keep the clock going up is the fact that the egg is in the chamber. So as long as the egg is in the chamber, this clock will count right on through 50,000. If I take the egg out, like this clock goes back to nothing. So let's put that egg back in. So every time an egg is inserted into the biochamber, this clock begins. And that is what controls our master time. Now, obviously we don't want 15 minutes to go by before we duplicate this egg, because this egg is going to hatch in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So the way that we get it started is manual activation. Manual activation, I'm going to automate this in the future, I think. I'm going to trigger it by the insertion of an egg and the fact that there's no egg over here, and I'll explain what all that means in a moment. So manual activation, for now, it says turn on, then off again. So you go on, off. You turn it on, you turn it off. It gets the ball rolling. A equals 1, A stays 1 because we have an egg in the biochamber. It's putting 400 of this spoilage into this assembler to make the nutrients necessary to duplicate the egg. We got speed modules going because we want to go as fast as possible. We want to give it a little bit more spoilage to get that alarm to stop. The egg is duplicated. The egg goes down here. We have 2 eggs now. One of the eggs gets inserted back into the biochamber, where there it is. The other egg gets put into this provider chest. It's a passive provider chest, which means that the egg will stay in here until some network request wants it. So you can see from this that the egg now has over 14 minutes left on the clock. So every time you craft an egg duplication recipe, you get 2 fresh eggs. It doesn't matter how fresh your nutrients are. Okay, so if you look back over here, you can see that the clock is now at almost 3,000. There it goes, 3,000. So when the clock gets to be 50,000, this will trigger once more and it will duplicate the egg once again. And that will happen not for a while, because again, 50,000, that's about 14 minutes. So again, the purpose of this alarm, and I've got, this basically is just a timer that goes once a second. It's checking to see if there's less than 1600 spoilage in the chest, and if it is, we start the timer and we make these lights flash. Over here, we check again, is it less than 1600? And if it is, we do a global alarm that says egg containment low. So if I take some spoilage out here, okay, so once we get below a certain amount of spoilage, you could be anywhere else on the map and that alarm will go off. And there'll be a little flashing egg down here in your alerts. You put your mouse over it and it says, egg containment low, see map for more details. You click on it and you hover over it and you can see where the problem is. You click on this and it takes you straight to it. So you in remote view and you can see where the problem is. Lights are flashing, sounds is blaring, it gets your attention. You know you have to do something. Now, how long do you have? Well, 1600 just happens to be 4 crafts, which is 15 minutes and 30 seconds each, which is almost exactly an hour. So when this alarm goes off, you have 1 hour to fix it. If you don't, you're going to lose your egg. So you can see here that this signal is about to get to 50,000. As soon as it gets to 50,000, we're going to duplicate that egg. And I want to show you just how close it is. It's only got a minute left. Now, the recipe has to be done before that timer goes out. So the trigger has happened. The light is green. We're producing nutrients as fast as we can. And as soon as this gets to 30, this will begin. But look at the timer. 47, 46, 45, 44, 43, 42, 41 seconds remaining when that recipe was triggered. We're going to assume you have more spoilage than this. So now, what has happened? Well, we duplicated the egg. The 2 eggs have gone out this way, and one went back in and one went over here. So if you look, we've got an egg with almost 15 minutes on the clock. And over here, we have this egg also with almost 15 minutes on the clock. Now, what's going on with this egg? Well, we've got a heating tower here, which you can throw eggs into to destroy them. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Next time this runs, what will happen is this inserter right here has got an enabled condition where egg greater than 1. Anytime egg is greater than 1, we're going to activate the inserter. Well, where is this hooked up? It's hooked up here, and you can see that the egg is currently equal to 1, but it's not greater than 1. But there's also a wire that goes to this segment of belt, which means that the next time this runs and it puts a new egg on the line, that new egg is going to work its way down here, just like this, and as soon as it hits this section of belt, then egg count will equal 2, which is greater than 1, which will cause this inserter to activate, and that will dump this egg into the furnace. So the heating tower gets the egg, and there will be literally like 40 seconds left on this egg's clock before it would hatch into a monster. And then this inserter will put it in here and it will immediately disable itself because there's no longer more than 1 egg. The new egg will get down to the end here. This inserter will activate and it'll put the new egg into this chest and the whole cycle will begin anew. So this whole build is what I call egg stasis, and it works very, very, very well. It uses 400 spoilage every 15 minutes, and as long as you have spoilage in your network and you're requesting 6,000, this will stay very, very happy for hours and hours and hours without any maintenance at all. Again, as soon as this gets under 1,600, you've got 1 hour to fix the situation, and then everything will still continue to be fine. Now, one more thing to talk about, and then I'll wrap up, is over here we have an egg release switch. You put your mouse over here and it says, will not release nearly matured egg. And that's important because what happens if you turn this on? Now, turning this on makes the checkmark signal go to 1. And we have a decider combinator that says that if checkmark signal is 1 and the clock signal is greater than 1,000 and the clock signal is less than 40,000, in other words, we don't want an egg that's just about ready to spoil to be available on the network. So I'm going to flip this on. And what that does is it turns this provider chest on. We have an enable condition, checkmark equals 1, which it currently is. So if you have, for example, some bioscience assembly line, it needs an egg. It doesn't have an egg, but you have this in your logistics network. This will provide you that egg to that request. Only one, though. What I hope is that I will be able to automate this so that when you take that egg, it essentially does a manual activation on its own and duplicates the egg that's in the biochamber, and then you'll have an extra egg again in a few seconds. But I don't have that fully automated yet, so it is what it is at the moment now. You don't have to worry about turning this on. I would leave it off until you're pretty sure that you want an egg, externally. Just leave it off. Turn it on when you want everything to be automated, and it will pull a request, give the egg when it's needed, and that's it. That's all there is to it. So with that, I think that's the end of this episode. I have one more pretty big build to show you, and then we'll get back to the game. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.